You finish a dense 400-page book on a Sunday afternoon. Let's say it's Daniel Kahneman's Thinking, Fast and Slow. You close the cover feeling distinctly smarter. You've just absorbed decades of behavioral economics. Then, Thursday rolls around. You're at dinner and a friend asks what the book was actually about. You freeze. You mumble something vague about how the brain makes decisions, and maybe you mention the word bias. But the actual details, the specific studies, gone. You spent 15 hours staring at dead trees just to retain a vague, fuzzy feeling of having read it. Most of us just accept this. We assume we naturally have a terrible memory. But what if your memory isn't failing at all? We usually treat forgetting like a disease, a flaw in our anatomy that needs to be fixed. If you forget the plot of a novel, you blame your attention span. But framing forgetting as a failure completely misunderstands what a memory actually is. Erasing 90% of what you just consumed is an active, demanding process. Your body is expending energy right now to dump the paragraphs you read yesterday. To understand why your head is actively sabotaging your reading list, we have to look at a deeply uncomfortable experiment from 1885. A German psychologist named Hermann Ebbinghaus wanted to measure human memory in its absolute purest form. No emotion, no context, no interesting stories, just raw retention. So he sat in a room alone and forced himself to memorize over 2,000 completely meaningless three-letter syllables. BOK, YAF, LUD. He memorized lists of this nonsense until he could recite them perfectly. And then he just waited. He timed exactly how long it took his mind to throw that carefully memorized information out the window. The results were depressing. Within just 20 minutes of learning the syllables, Ebbinghaus forgot 40% of them. Within 1 hour, half of everything was gone. By the end of the first day, he had lost nearly 70%. He mapped this out, creating what we now call the forgetting curve. It proved something deeply counterintuitive. Forgetting is not a slow, gradual fade that happens over months. It is an immediate, steep cliff. The second you close a book, the purge begins. At first glance, the solution seems obvious. Just read it again. The natural response to the forgetting curve is repetition. You read the chapter twice. You highlight sentences in bright yellow ink. But this creates a dangerous trap. Psychologists call it the illusion of fluency. When you reread a highlighted passage, your eyes glide over the text easily. Your mind recognizes the words, so you feel like you know the material. You don't. Recognition is not recall. You just recognize the shape of the sentences. The moment you close the book, you are right back at the top of the cliff. Here is the uncomfortable reality. Your mind is not a storage unit. It is a filter. Every single day, you are hit with millions of sensory inputs. The color of a passing car, the price of a coffee, the exact phrasing of an email. If you retained all of it, you would not be able to function. Remembering everything is a cognitive nightmare. So, your memory operates strictly on a use it or lose it basis. Reading a book on a couch is a highly passive activity. You are just staring at paper. Your mind looks at this passive data and immediately tags it as useless trivia. So how do you stop the purge? You have to introduce friction. The only way to convince your body that a piece of information actually matters is to struggle to retrieve it. This is a concept called desirable difficulty. The moment you look away from the page and try to explain what you just read out loud, and you struggle to find the words, you are finally doing the work. That feeling of frustration, of reaching for a detail and failing, is exactly what signals that this information is necessary. You have to prove the information is valuable by actively trying to use it. But there is a strangely comforting side to all of this. You are never going to retain 90% of the books you read, and that is perfectly fine. The goal of reading isn't to hoard facts so you can impress people at dinner parties. You read a book to absorb a new way of thinking. The specific anecdotes and statistics will inevitably fade. What stays behind is the shift in your perspective. The book acts like a lens. You forget the lens itself, but it permanently changes how you see everything else. The rest is just noise your mind was smart enough to throw away.